You can't hit a target you can't see. Let me tell you something I learned early in life. The people who win, the people who rise, the people who last, they didn't just stumble into greatness. They saw it before it ever showed up. They held the picture in their minds so clearly, so consistently, that the world had no choice but to catch up to what they already believed. Vision is the foundation. It's the why behind every sacrifice. The engine behind every early morning, every late night, every no to temptation and yes to purpose. Without vision, you're not driven. You're just drifting, and drifting feels like movement, but it goes nowhere. I remember standing in my mama's house, no lights on in the hallway, just me and the mirror, and I saw a version of myself that didn't exist yet. I saw the roles, the films, the stages, the awards, but none of it had happened. You understand, I had nothing, but I saw everything, and I made a decision right there. I was going to live into that vision every single day, not once a week, not when I felt good, every single day. Because that image in my head was more real to me than the circumstances around me. Let me ask you, what do you see? Not what people told you, not what your past says, not what your bank account, your school, or your job title claims. I'm talking about the picture that burns in your chest when the world goes quiet. You see, when you have vision, real vision, you start to move differently, you talk differently, you walk into rooms that feel too big and sit at tables they said weren't for you, because you already saw it. Vision with clarity means you write it down, you hang it up, you speak it out loud, not because it's magic, but because your mind needs a blueprint. And when your mind has direction, your discipline has a reason. Every time you get tired, every time you get tempted, every time you want to quit, vision steps in and reminds you why you started. It's the fuel, it's the filter, and it's the future. But let me be clear, vague dreams create vague results. I want to be successful, ain't enough. I want to make money, ain't enough. Get specific, get honest. Say, I want to own that business. I want to drop 40 pounds. I want to retire my mama. I want to write that book. I want to speak in front of 0 people and change lives. That's the kind of clarity that drives action. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You rise to the level of your discipline, and discipline rises to the strength of your vision. So again, I ask you, what do you see? Because until you see it clearly, you'll never chase it consistently, and without clarity. Discipline doesn't stand a chance. You see, everybody loves the idea of success, until it comes time to pay the price. Everybody claps for the highlight reel, but few people stick around for the hard parts. The parts where it's cold, where it's lonely, where the world's sleeping and you're out there grinding, hurting, doubting, but still doing it anyway. That's the difference between convenience and commitment. Convenience says, I'll do it if it feels good. Commitment says, I'll do it regardless. Convenience is a fair weather friend. It hangs out when the sky's clear, when the mood is right, when the lights are on. But the moment it rains, when you're tired, when it's hard, when nobody's watching, convenience dips out, gone. But commitment laces up its boots in the mud. It don't care if you're sore. It don't care if you're scared. It don't care if you failed yesterday. Commitment looks you dead in the face and says, we still going. Listen to me, discipline is born where commitment lives. There were times in my life when I didn't feel like showing up. Times I wanted to quit. Times when rejection knocked on my door and said, you ain't enough. And I almost believed it, almost, but commitment stood behind me and whispered, get up, one more step. And that's the thing. Real commitment don't shout. It don't cheer you on like a crowd. It whispers in the quiet, keep going. That's discipline. That's where champions are made. Not in the arena, not on the stage, but in the moments when it would have been easier to stop and you chose to continue. Let me be real with you. Convenience won't take you where you're trying to go, because anything worth having, peace, success, greatness, freedom, it don't come discounted. It comes with a cost, and that cost is consistency. Day in, day out, when it's boring, when it's painful, when nobody's clapping for you, nobody's texting you got this, and no one's watching your grind but God and the clock. If you only move when the mood is right, you'll never finish the race. Because discipline doesn't come from hype, it comes from habit, and habit is built on commitment, the decision that you've already made, long before the emotion arrives. It's when you say, I don't negotiate with my goals. I don't debate with my destiny. I do what needs to be done. So when the alarm rings, when the schedule's tight, when your body's sore, when your friends are out partying and you're in the gym, in the books, in the grind, that ain't punishment. That's commitment. The morning is where the war is won, before the emails, before the noise, before the world pulls at you from every direction. The morning is yours. It's the one space in the day where the world is still quiet enough for you to hear yourself think, for you to decide who you're gonna be, before the rest of the world tries to decide for you. That's why discipline starts when the sun is still sleeping. Look, I didn't always get this. There was a time when I'd wake up and just react. I'd check the phone, let the day pull me in 1,000 directions, and by noon I'd feel behind, scrambling to catch up, scattered, unfocused, like I was surviving the day instead of owning it. But then I realized something simple, something powerful. How you start is how you move. If you start with chaos, you carry chaos. But if you start with order, with purpose, with presence, you carry that with you too. So I made a shift. I stopped snoozing. I stopped starting my day on defense. And I began to command my mornings, not perfectly, not always smoothly, but intentionally. I gave those first few moments to silence, to sweat, to scripture, to stillness. Whatever it took to center myself before the storm came. Because let me tell you, discipline doesn't begin in the big moments. It begins in the small decisions, the early hours, the dark when nobody's looking. That alarm clock, that ain't just noise. That's your first test. That's the first promise you either keep or break to yourself. And I don't care how smart you are, how talented, how connected. If you keep losing the first battle of the day, it's gonna bleed into the rest of your life. You can't expect clarity at noon if you're waking up at 11 with no plan, no pause, no purpose. You can't build discipline on scattered mornings. You build it by owning your time before the world even knows you're awake. There's a reason warriors rise early. There's a reason champions train when it's cold, when it's dark, when everyone else is still dreaming. Because they know something. Greatness is quiet in the beginning. It doesn't come in fanfare. It comes in habits, in repetition, in showing up before you're seen. You want to lead your life, then lead your morning. Because the moment your feet hit the floor, you're sending a message to the world. I'm not waiting on the day. The day's waiting on me. That's power. That's presence. That's discipline. And it starts the moment you decide to rise. Willpower is a spark. Systems are the firewood. A lot of folks think discipline is about gritting your teeth and forcing your way through every day like a soldier in battle. They say, if I just try harder, I'll do better. But trying harder isn't the problem. It's trying blind. Because even the strongest willpower wears thin if it's fighting battles alone, every day, with no structure, no rhythm, no plan. You ever try to resist temptation on an empty stomach, in a messy room, after 5 hours of sleep? That's not a test of character. That's a system failure. Willpower is unreliable. It's human. It fluctuates. It gets tired. It breaks down when life gets loud, when stress creeps in, when motivation fades. But systems don't care how you feel. Systems are truth without mood. Let me tell you something I learned along the way. If you want to be disciplined, stop relying on how strong you feel and start relying on how smart you set up your life. You want to work out? Don't just say it. Pack your gym bag the night before. Put your shoes by the door. Schedule it like a meeting you can't miss. You want to eat clean. Don't just hope for it. Empty your fridge of the junk. Prep your meals. Make the healthy choice the easy choice. Because here's the real secret. Discipline isn't about suffering. It's about designing. Designing a life where the right decision is the default, not the struggle. You think high performers rely on willpower to stay sharp? No. They build systems that support the person they're becoming. Systems that remind them of their values when their emotions forget. Systems that take decision fatigue off the table so they can focus their energy on what really matters. I had to learn this the hard way. I used to think discipline meant I had to battle myself every morning, every choice, every step. But what I didn't realize was, I was making it harder than it had to be. I was climbing uphill with no gear, and when I finally got honest with myself, I saw it clearly. I didn't need to be tougher, I needed to be smarter. Structure creates freedom, boundaries build momentum. Routines unlock energy. You build discipline not by fighting your environment, but by shaping it to serve your goals. So the question isn't, do you have enough willpower today? The question is, what systems did you build yesterday to make today's success easier? Because if you don't design your habits, your environment will decide them for you. And most of the time, the environment's not on your side. Set yourself up. Be proactive. Build a life that supports your standards. Because when your life is set up to align with your vision, discipline doesn't feel like a daily grind. It feels like natural momentum. And that, right there, is how you stop burning out and start breaking through. We live in a world that worships now. Fast food, fast money, fast likes, everything's about speed. Everything's about instant results. We've been conditioned to believe that if it doesn't come quick, it ain't worth it. Or worse, that we're doing something wrong if we have to wait. But discipline, real discipline, it lives in the delay. It's about training your mind to say, not yet. Even when everything in your body is screaming, right now. It's about looking temptation in the eye, whether it's comfort, whether it's distraction, whether it's that quick dopamine hit, and choosing the long road over the shortcut. See, anybody can chase a feeling. That's easy, but feelings are liars. They're loud in the moment and gone in a minute. Discipline isn't about how you feel, it's about what you know, and doing it anyway. It's the strength to hold off on what's easy so you can hold on to what's eternal. Let me break it down. When you delay the reward, you're teaching yourself that your future is worth more than your impulse. That the man or woman you're becoming tomorrow matters more than the craving you feel today. That's a powerful thing, to know you're capable of saying no, not because you can't, but because you've got bigger plans. Think about it, everything worthwhile is on the other side of waiting. A degree, a business, a strong body, a good relationship, none of those come overnight. They don't show up at the speed of Wi-Fi. They show up at the speed of work, of patience, of process. I remember times I had opportunities, money, roles, attention, that looked good, sounded good, but didn't feel right. They were shortcuts, and I knew deep down, if I took them, I might get there faster, but I'd lose a piece of who I was trying to become. And once you trade in your values for convenience, it's hard to buy them back. Delaying the reward means you're not just chasing results. You're becoming someone worthy of those results. It's self-respect in action. It's integrity on display. It's telling the world, I could, but I won't. Not yet, not until I've earned it. Because what you build with patience, nobody can take from you. But what you grab in a hurry, that slips through your fingers just as fast. So you put in the reps, you do the work. You show up today without needing applause today. That's discipline, that's maturity. That's how you build something that lasts. You want the real prize, delay the cheap one. Because your future is too valuable to sell for something that only satisfies your present. So now you know the keys: vision with clarity, commitment over convenience, master the morning, build systems, not willpower, delay the reward, and there's more. But even these are enough to change your entire life if you live them. But let me leave you with this: discipline. It's not just a trait, it's not just a habit, it's a promise you make to your future self. A commitment to show up even when it's hard, to rise even after you've fallen, to push through when everything in you wants to quit. And listen to me, discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's not about never missing. It's about never giving up. You're not building discipline to impress the world. You're building discipline to become who you were born to be, because there's greatness in you. Yeah, I said it, there's greatness in you. But that greatness, it don't come out by wishing, it don't come out by waiting. It comes out when you decide, right now, that you're done negotiating with excuses, you're done living beneath your potential, you're done chasing comfort, and you're ready to step into the fire, because the fire forges. The fire purifies, the fire turns iron into steel. So tonight, tomorrow, the next morning, when the world is quiet and it's just you and that choice, Remember this, you don't rise to the level of your feelings. You rise to the level of your discipline, and the future, it's waiting for you, but it won't come to the version of you that's comfortable. It'll come to the version that's committed. Now go build that version. One step, one choice, one disciplined day at a time, and I promise you, one day, the world will look at your life and call it destiny, but you'll know it was discipline.